So you are wondering, what's the best way to make compost? This stuff in here. She loves compost. I love compost. I'm going to show you how to make the best compost. Ready? Are you ready? Here we go.
GardenFork, making things, making food. If I can do it, you can do it.
This is my compost here. This is a pallet compost bin I built. Stick around to the end of the video. I'll have a link right here to watch that video here. My theory on compost is much like my theory on the world, which is use what you got. And what we got is garden waste from our vegetable garden, lawn waste from the yard, leaf waste here, and then twigs and debris and stuff like that. And you can take all that and you can make some amazing compost. But the whole thing about wondering whether you've done it right or not, let go of that. Because what you're making compost from is what you have on hand. The big question is, how fast will that break down into a compost that you could use in your garden or in your yard or something, right? So in my world, this is the daily carry. This is compost from the kitchen. We've got banana peels, some cauliflower, coffee grounds, very high in nitrogen coffee grounds, eggshells, calcium potatoes. Those potatoes might even sprout, who knows? That goes into that pile there. And that goes back into the fridge. And this will slowly break down. I'm not like really paying attention to layering this. I just kind of drop this and then whatever I have goes on top. You can see there is some straw and stuff I dumped in. This is mainly garden waste. No, I mean kitchen waste. You can use cardboard and stuff in here. I don't know if you can see over there. I'll just zoom in. How's that? There is some paper waste. There's a coffee cup in here. Don't put coffee cups in there. Coffee cups have a wax waterproof coating around the inside so the coffee doesn't leak out through the paper. So you learned something there. But you can see here, this is kind of what I call chaos compost, which is totally okay with me. And then over here, we've got some stuff we pulled out of the garden, which I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna add into the regular compost. I also have what I call my long-term piles, and I think my neighbor calls them Johnny piles or something. But piles like this. This is a bunch of debris from pruning out garden beds and stuff, and it's leaves, it's old flowers, it's small limbs. This is some forsythia. This will probably start sprouting, knowing forsythia. But this is just kind of a big, messy pile, and that's okay with me. This to me is more of a rabbit warren or a chipmunk warren than a compost pile. But I can pull out my chipper shredder. We have a video about that too. And I can chip and shred all that at my leisure. In the meantime, it's breaking down and it's going to become some really nice compost. Over here is some more of these piles and the remnants of a DIY, this is a DIY chicken wire compost bin that I haven't put up yet this year. It's my secret leaf composter. Again, that video as well will be at the end, so stick around to the end here. But these are some straw that I used on a project. That's an old straw bale from, I think, like a Halloween decoration or something like that. But this is stuff that is kind of in a to-do pile, kind of in a holding pile, or if I just forget about it, it'll become some nice compost here. So that'll be nice. The thing, if you really want to wamp up your compost, if you want it to be like cooking, you know, like you say those compost thermometers, and you're like, oh, I can get it up to 120, 140 degrees or something, you need the right carbon to nitrogen ratio, and the ratio is ideally, I think it's 60% nitrogen to 40% carbon, or it might be 60% carbon to 40% nitrogen. You will let me know in the comments what you think about that. And the other key thing you need is mass. And that is a tricky thing to do for a lot of home gardeners. You basically need something like this pallet, which is almost a cubic yard, basically. You need something along that lines to get your compost really cooking. And a lot of home gardeners lack that mass. I could probably chew up a bunch of that. Oh, look at this. This is another project that bale back there. But you could do it. The problem people run into is the carbon. They usually have too much carbon versus nitrogen. Nitrogen you would get from green materials like grass clippings and things like that. And in early spring, well, there's a little bit of grass here, but we haven't cut it yet. It's mainly brown materials. Things like leaves or like these wood chips here, big on the wood chip gardening. That's actually kind of a big thing with me now is the back to Eden gardening. Garlic is coming up really nicely here. But you need that mass and you need the right carbon to nitrogen ratio. But here's the thing, I don't worry about that. I don't worry about the ratios. I just use what I got. And GardenFork is all about, hey, let's try this and see what happens. And that's what happens with compost. Oh, we could have a shirt that says compost happens. What do you think? Yeah, it is what it is. Whatever you have, you should use in your compost. But don't expect it to be that amazing stuff that they always talk about in the gardening magazines or the videos. They're like, oh, I'm cooking my compost at, 140 degrees. I've worked on projects like that in community gardens in Brooklyn with the Park Slope Food Co-op, and we had stuff cooking at 160 degrees. But we had a microbrewery giving us spent grain. We had wood shavings from a woodworker that wasn't plywood, didn't have glue in it. And then we had a ton of vegetable greens from the food co-op. So we could mix, and we had horse manure from the police precinct horse stable. I would go get that. Man, what a mix. And boom, that stuff would pop. But again, mass, remember the compost bin over there, a cubic yard. Air is another key thing you need. And we went to the point where we took PVC pipe and drilled holes in the pipes and would layer them in the pile. As you built the pile, we would put these pipes with holes in them to get air into the pile. Or you could put a grate at the bottom. So a grate at the bottom of that, I don't know, is that gonna work? You tell me. So the thing here is use what you got and patience. Patience is another key thing here because it's not gonna break down into some amazing stuff right away because you don't have that 60-40 ratio and you don't have the mass, but you do have this great stuff. Now, if you were to chop this up, like in our chipper shredder, that would help it move along faster, and adding some air pipes in here as well would help. By the way, this is here because the Labradors eat compost. Where are they? Charlie, come here. They're waiting for you-know-who to come back. The camera operator is not here, as you can tell. She is hopefully coming back soon. But a mass, take that, shred it up. And also, people are big on turning compost, which works, yeah. Again, I think you need a certain amount of mass for that. They make these tools that you can put in and pull out, and boom, it works really well. What also works really well is a garden fork. Got that? Garden fork, the name of the show, and see how well I weaved that in? Is that a word? Yeah, that's a word. This is, I actually really like this compost bin. I've built probably 6 different kinds. I like this, and then I like the wire bin over here. The wire bin is perfect for at the end of the year with leaves. Of course, we have a video about that. And I just rake up all the leaves, I run them over the mower a little bit, and then I put this back up to standing. I fill it chock full of chopped up leaves and let it go. And then a year later, it is like Super Bueno Compost. That could be a name of our compost company, the Super Bueno Compost Company. That again, what are the name of these kind of piles? I'm in New England, and I thought they were called Johnny piles or Yankee piles or something. But a lot of times, I don't have time right away to deal with the material we're cleaning up. And we just make it a pile, and then the chipmunks go in there, and that's fine, because chipmunks, they need a place to hide. And then eventually I'll pull this into here. The chipper shred is really helpful for that, but you can manually clip it all up. The thicker the material, well, that's not really thick. Let's find a thick. Yeah, this is great. The thicker this material is, the longer it takes to break down, and the bigger it is, the longer it takes to break down. So the smaller you can get it, the faster it's going to break down in that or in there. That was kind of neat, wasn't it? There's a lot more to learn about with making compost. You can overthink it, you can make it really complicated, or you could make it really, really simple. And I talk about that in the next video right here. So let's continue our conversation by you clicking right here, move on to the next video, and we'll make compost together. How's that for a thing? You could share your compost with me, I could share. There is kind of a bio thing to that as well. Anyway, next video, talk more about that right there.